Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's installment of Cichlids and Coffee, or whatever your drink of choice is. And I appreciate you showing up. That's good. All right. Let's see here. Let's see who's in the house. Lots 33ML, good morning to you. And Kim and Carl are here. Very, very cool. Angelo in the house. Is that A59108? Good morning. Good morning to you. Hey, Price Tag. Good to see you, my friend. Josh is here as well. Wood. Does that say Wood Sniff? From the south coast of England. Wow. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you're here. So more folks are getting on. Let's give them a moment. And I love talking about products. And there have certainly been a lot of products that have come down the line. And I'm going to talk with you about some of the products that have made a big difference for me recently. And these are my current favorite 5. But if you know me, you know that that can change tomorrow. So, but as of this live stream, these are my 5 favorite products. But stay tuned because, as you know, that can change. So AV is good. Thank you for that, Price Tag. I appreciate that without me even having to ask for an AV check. Price Tag is one of my wonderful moderators. I like to say I have the best moderators on YouTube. And he is certainly one of that group. Quick shout out to those of you who support the channel as Patreon members. You are very appreciated. I don't do enough for you. I should probably do more, but you are appreciated. And here are just some of the members. The list is kept relatively up to date, but I thank all of you for helping on a monthly basis. As I like to say, you help out in more ways than you know. And of course, a big shout out to all my wonderful subscribers and those of you who watch and lurk and don't subscribe. You're also very appreciated. Anyone who watches is appreciated. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We'll start with the traditional channel logo. I guess, would you call it a logo? I don't know. Transition, maybe? All right, now it's official. So there was a little bleep in the electricity, and after I set up all my screens, so let me check something out here and see if I have to adjust. Yep, I have to adjust a frame. The reason I know is that we had a little bleep in the electricity was because I came downstairs and the clock on the stove was flashing. It might have been just for a second, but if I had noticed the time and compared it to the time on my watch, I could have told you exactly how long it was out. But at any rate, yeah, I got to just adjust this one screen. There we go. That's all set. All right. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Let's just jump right into it. What do you think? Think we should do that? Let me see how many more have jumped on. Very, very good. The crowd is growing. Medco or Medco, I don't know how that's pronounced, Med, but I'm going to say good afternoon to you as well. Kevin in the house. Bought some Buenos Aires Tetras. Wow. Well, they are very active, and they can be a little nippy, so keep an eye on them. But they are actually, when you just step back and look at them, they're actually a very beautiful fish. I think they're a little underrated, and they can get deceptively big, kind of husky, not as big as like a Geo or something, but they can be a decent size and certainly be a lot bigger and hardier than, let's say, a Rasbora, let's say. So they tend to go after each other more than other fish, but they do tend to be nippy. And when I had them with some Heckelei, I was a little concerned that they were going to be nipping on the fins and the trailers. And so, anyway, just my take on Buenos Aires. I still have a few left. I had about 6 or 7 at one point. Just over the years, they've just sort of died off. I lost, I think, a couple in the freeze, the recent freeze I went through. But I still have a couple of them in the 60-gallon acrylic here to my right. Pretty fish. Mr. Is that a G or a C? Governor? DV? From Jacksonville, Florida. I like Jacksonville. Been there a few times. I like most of Florida. My son, of course, is down there in Fort Myers. My oldest son. So let me go ahead and jump into today's topic. And the first product, I have several products I want to cover with you, and I'll go from, this is in no particular order. This is just products that impressed me, that have become part of the fish room, right? They're become part of what I'm doing now in here. And they're just appreciated products that I really, really enjoy. And the first one, it might surprise you, it might not. It's actually food, some food that has become available to me, and I'll show it to you. The first one is from my friend Darius up in Canada. And you love it when you talk to a vendor and they listen, and then they come up with something that meets meets what was discussed. I mean, attempts to approximate what was discussed. And what I did is I met with Darius and his wife. I think his son was there too, but we had a great time together, and we talked a lot about, as you might imagine, when you're talking to the owner of a fish food company, we talked a lot about fish food, and I told him about how I blend fish food because I felt that no one company had it down, had it wired 100%. And I actually got that idea, believe it or not, from the Sarah representative. You would think a company like Sarah would say, oh no, we've got it. I mean, they have a bunch of scientists. They've been at it for 50 plus years. You think they would just say, oh yeah, we've got it nailed, and this is the end all. No, they're actually very humble, and they said, no, it's probably not a bad idea to give your fish a mix, and just make sure you cover all the bases, and the needs of every kind of fish. And so we started talking, and then he came up. Next thing I know, I get in the mail this bag of food called Super Mix. You can see that, Super Mix. And it's got a fish that's flexing, has some very impressive biceps, and and it's got veggie, it's got krill, it's got cichlid, high protein. It's 2 millimeters. It's got a little ben.o.ciclid approved sticker on the back up here, which I thought was kind of funny. But he made some stickers. And it has just great ingredients. And if you have a tank, let's say you've got a tank and you've got some cichlids in there, but you also have, let's say, some mabuna, maybe some fish that just need some veg in their diet, not all heavy protein all the time, then they're going to get it with this. You're going to have enough of a mix. The veg doesn't hurt the carnivores. If anything, it helps digestion, right? It doesn't really hurt the carnivores, but all 100% protein for a fish that should have some veggie in their diet can have a negative impact. So this is covering all the bases with a lot of good crude protein, but you're also getting some of the greens in here. It has the whole Antarctic krill, the whole herring, the whole sardine, right? The kind of ingredients you'd expect from Northfen, but it also has organic kelp, spirulina, and garlic. Garlic, I think, is the secret that, I mean, the fish go nuts. They go nuts on this. So now, another food product that has come around recently, which I love, are these, I think Corey over at Aquarium Co-op calls them magic nuggets or chicken nuggets. He calls them chicken nuggets. But their the official name is Magic Nuggets, and it's a good size. Like I love the food he was producing, but it was all so teeny that I really couldn't feed it to my big boys, right? So now we have a best of all worlds, and what I mean by that is he's got a food that is a big enough size. This has got to be at least 2 millimeter at least. I don't know if you can see in there. It's a good sized food, but if you don't want to use it that size, it crumbles easily. Now that's also good because when the fish takes it in, he's not going to have this rock floating in his mouth for a while. It'll immediately sort of pulverize or dissolve in the mouth. So we've got best of all worlds with this, a food that just sort of dissolves, and it's got whole. When you see the word whole, WHOLE, right? Not HOLE, but WHO, whole krill, whole anchovy, whole shrimp, right? So this means that you're getting a complete, it's like the best quality ingredient you can get, as opposed to fish rendering or waste or parts, So you want to look for the word whole on your food ingredients. And then he's got a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals and all kinds of other good stuff in here. But at any rate, you can feed it to your big boys, or you can just crumble it, and it crumbles into powder very easily, and feed it to your small fish. So you've got a sort of a best of all worlds. And yes, Darius, I might mix a little bit of that with your mix. Don't be upset at me. I'm a food mixer. What can I say? My fish also get frozen krill. They get the South and Central, and the community fish get a bloodworms. So there's frozen bloodworms. There's also a product that my fish love, which is the frozen worms and the frozen brine shrimp from the Co-op. Top notch. It's a great snack. My Rhodesiae yellow, I gave him 1 cube just as a separate little snack, just because he was looking a little bit lean, and he absolutely loves it. So some great food that's showing up in the market, and of course you folks demanding good quality ingredients, you folks not buying the cheap stuff, is forcing all of the food makers out there to raise up their, bring their A game, up their game, and include better ingredients, because they know that you're reading the labels now, and it's making a big difference. There's going to be a video today at 1:00 Central Time, and it's entitled "Everything You Need to Know About Big Cichlids," right? And in it, there's a section on aggression, and when I talk about aggression, I talk about the importance of having them well fed, not running fillers through their body, that they use energy to move through their body, but then they just simply, poop out because there's no bioavailability. So it's important to provide the fish with something that is bioavailable, that provides nutrients, requires less energy to eat and digest than the than the energy they're getting from the food, right? And so that's part of that. Watch for that video at 1 o'clock today. It's everything you need to know about keeping big cichlids. The thumbnail is a little bit provocative. It just talks about how big cichlids might not be for you. And in the video, I talk about all the different things about keeping big cichlids, whether it's needing a giant tank, needing a lot of filtration, energy costs, the cost of replacing fish, every possible angle, good and bad, about keeping big cichlids. So watch for that. That'll be out shortly. All right, so food is one point that I've been very impressed with. Now, another thing that's made life a lot easier for me this last 6 months or so has been auto top off, and I'm not sponsored by this company. I don't get anything if you buy this auto top off, but this is the one that I happen to choose. I have a couple of these. I have a duo of the Duettos, and they're very easy to install. And I have a tank of water next to the sump, and that little blue sensor there on the upper right is it determines the water level, and then the little pump that you see in the bottom corner sits at the bottom of your reservoir, and it just simply moves water into the tank to keep it at the right level. And I like to keep the water level above the pump in my sumps, so there's no chance the pump will actually burn out on me. Now, these are going to be really good when I'm on vacation, because normally I would be topping off the sumps, right? Usually you look at the sump, you see the levels gone a little bit down because of evaporation, right? So when you have a sump on an aquarium, your aquarium water line doesn't necessarily go down. It's the sump water line that goes down. The level of water in your aquarium stays pretty much the same. So it's the sump water line that you have to watch. So when I'm on vacation, this is going to make sure that the sumps have the right amount of water, and I don't have to have the person who's going to be babysitting the fish filling up sumps. So that's going to give me a lot less to worry about. Now, I'm going to, when we're done today, I'll go ahead and put some links, probably in the description, maybe in the video itself. I'll put some links to these products if you want to take a look at them. But auto top off, that for me was a bit of a game changer. Another thing that made life a lot easier for me are what are called sump. These are like sump media cups. And what you do is this is the first place that the water goes through when it comes from the aquarium into the sump. So it goes into this cup, and the cup has sponges in it that have been cut and fitted, and it catches the big pieces of waste and serves as a sort of a pre-filter. And so when that starts overflowing, when I look in the sump and see that water's overflowing, I know it's become blocked. Pull the sponges out, rinse them, and drop them back in. A very fast process. What I used to do before I started using these sump cups, by the way, this was off of a recommendation from one of you, but I used to have these things. It's called a sump sock. And this would sit in a frame, right, in a holder, and the water would go in here first, and I'd have about 4 or 5 of these, and I would swap them out like every couple of weeks. And when I'd get like 3 or 4 of them that were dirty, I would run them through a washing machine cycle with a little bit of bleach, give them a double rinse, and it was a bit of a process, right? The sump cup is much easier to work with. So that has been a bit of a game changer. Let me move some of these things around here. All right. Next product. Now, you know, if you follow my channel, you know I'm a real big pre-filter guy. I love pre-filtering. That sump cup is actually a sump pre-filter. That's really what it is. But you also know that I like using pre-filters over the intakes of filters when I can. And very often I've cobbled them together. I've sort of fashioned them myself out of pieces of sponge. But the popularity of the pre-filters has caught on, and our friend Corey has a 3D printer and that he's been going crazy with, and he's been making a lot of products, and now he's got these adapters, and I'm really excited to get this on. This is a Fluval canister intake adapter for the Fluval FX series. You can see that with the glare. So what I have now is I have I took off the grill of the Fluval intake, right? It has a big grill. I took that grill off. I drilled some holes in the pipe that would connect to the drill, and then I slipped the pre-filter sponge up over the pipe, right? Well, this is going to be a much more elegant solution, because this is going to hook on to that pipe, right? And then you've got this section here that's already cut. It already has the cutouts, and then this fits right over nice and snug, and it holds on nice and tight. The one I have right now, it holds on from the suction of the filter. So when I turn the FX6 off to do some work on it, this thing will fall off and just sort of drift around the tank and I have to go fish for it. This is a 1,000% improvement on intake on an intake pre-filter for an FX6. So this is awesome. Corey, keep playing with your 3D printer. I love what you're doing over there. And he has also one for Marineland. You know, I have Marineland filters, and again, it's got that grill, that little square grill. So instead, now you can attach this to the bottom of the tube, right? And again, this just sort of slips over it, and then you've got a black on black, which is good for me because I've got black background in my aquariums, so I've got a black on black pre-filter. Now, why am I so big on pre-filters? First of all, it extends the time between when you need to do maintenance, because a lot of it is being caught here. It also holds on to big pieces until they become dust, and then moves the dust into the filter. It also catches food, so if you're using high quality expensive food and that food is just getting sucked into your filters, you're wasting money. So this will catch the food and fish will come around and peck it off, and so you'll get a little more bang for your buck with your food. So some great products coming out of the Aquarium Co-op. Give you an idea of what they run. This is the medium, large, the different sizes available on the adapters for the FX. So you go anywhere from $10 to $13 roughly, plus whatever shipping is, right? Now, in light of what I've recently gone through, you know, I've become kind of a maniac about backup power. I've become a little bit obsessed with backup power. And so I started going down that rabbit hole, the backup power rabbit hole, and I'll tell you, there's a lot out there. Everything from, just momentary, like 1 or 2 hour blips, all the way up to the, off the grid survivalist preppers out there that live in the middle of nowhere, and it's all solar and so there's a lot out there. And so it's a pretty big rabbit hole to go down. So I started going down the rabbit hole, and I came up with a strategy. And I actually did a review of this product in a recent video. This one being the I'll just show it to you. Opus. We call them Oops, affectionately referred to as Oops. But this company is disrupting things a bit because they're giving you a lot of wattage for the dollar. You get a lot of power for the dollar. But what you do, of course, is you would plug in your most vital components. So, for example, when I get my discus tank going again, I'll have one hang-on back filter. Instead of both of them, I'll only have one hang-on back filter. And if it's wintertime, the heater plugged into this. And then this will be plugged into the wall. If there's a power outage, this unit will detect the power outage and power the components using the battery. And because it's only a couple select components, right? You don't need your lights. I don't need the second hang-on back. If it's the summertime, I don't need the heater. It'll run the aquarium for many, many hours until power comes back on. So I've become a bit of a believer in these power packs. And they also have a unit that's 6,000 watts that I'm considering. And that would be a unit that would be plugged into the 210 and the 300 gallon to be able to run. And then what I'll do is, instead of having 1,000-watt heaters, instead I'll have a couple 500-watt heaters in the sumps. So I'll have a sump pump and a 500-watt heater in the sump, and only have those two items plugged into the power backup. Don't need the lights, don't need the canister filters, don't need anything else, right? Power heads or wave makers. None of that needs to run during a power outage. So again, it'll detect if the power goes out and continue running those items when I'm not even home, right? So that has been, for me, that has been a bit of a game changer. Now, I'm not sure how you folks feel about power outages or backup. I also have a generator, a 12,000 watt generator, and I'm going to get a small an inverter generator that I can use to recharge the battery packs, because you can't really recharge the battery packs because they're kind of a delicate electronic. So you can't recharge them with a generator, because a generator produces a little bit of what's called dirty electricity. It's not really clean electricity, sine wave, if you will. So an inverter, a small inverter that you can pick up for, depending where you get it, $200 to $500, will charge your battery backups. So you could stay on battery backup forever if you wanted to, if you have enough gasoline for your inverter. But there are other levels of battery backup, and certainly if you're using sponge filters, that in your aquariums, here, I'll show you. These are some of the sponge filters that I'm currently using, and again, I think this is Corey and his 3D printer having fun. But what you have here is you have an adjustable sort of a lift or a high neck there. So the sponges are now breaking up surface tension. So you have a surface tension breakup with that neck that is adjustable and goes to the top. I have these running right now in 3 aquariums. And at first I was a little bit reluctant to use them. I didn't really understand them or like them. Now I love them. And then what you do is you run them with a pump that has a battery backup, like something like this. See, this is a lithium battery co-op pump. They have double outlet and single outlet models, and this will run for many hours, and you can set it so that it only goes off like every 10 or 15 seconds, right? It gives a blast of air and then stops for 10 or 15 seconds, then gives a blast of air. So when you have it on that mode, it'll go all day and into the next day. I mean, it'll just last forever. So again, different layers of backup. So those sponges with the high necks, these lithium battery pumps, I think are great products to have in your in your fish room. But I'll tell you, the probably the game changer product that probably made the biggest difference during the blackout for me during that recent outage was this product from Haiger. Now, I over the years I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with Haiger, and they've been good to me. I mean, they send me stuff. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not great. But this product, they hit a home run with this product. This has 6 outlets and a battery that I kid you not, that battery ran for over 2 days with no power, and it was running the sponges that I had in different tanks. It comes with 6 outlets and some very large air stones, and probably quite possibly my favorite product for 2025, and I have it running right now on 3 aquariums. I think it's just it's a beast. You can adjust the amount of air. So let's say you are operating strictly on battery, you can turn down that little knob on the front right of it, and what that'll do is it'll allow you to go even longer because you'll be using less electricity. But again, power goes out, it just keeps on running and running and running and running, and I'm just really glad I had it, and I can't thank Haiger enough for it. It runs at about 77. I don't know why they price it this way, but $77.99, and they usually have some special. Like right there, you can see there's a coupon price, $74. But 6 pumps, or six sponges or air stones, and it'll run all 6 of them very, very strong. It's not like you get a little cheap little flow from each of the sponge fill. It runs all 6 of them hard. So very, very impressed with that product. Now, one other product a couple more products that I think will make life a little easier for you in the fish room, certainly have for me, and let me just get this positioned here so you can see it. This is called I've shown this to you before. This is called a Taylor digital thermometer. If you don't have a digital thermometer and you're trying to, you're holding a glass thermometer under your tap or something, it's taking you way too long. Open this thing, push the button. It's 74.8 in the fish room right now. That's how fast I got a temperature, right? So 75 once I start to close it. Get yourself a digital thermometer. It's instant, and it takes especially if you like matching temperatures when you're filling up your tanks, it's a must. This one is about $27. They have less expensive ones out there. This one's been a beast. I've used it continuously for, I don't know, since California, so 6 years, 7 years, and it just fires right up. So that would be my recommended one, but there are lots of them out there. They even have like laser ones now that you can point at the water and all kinds of cool stuff. So there's a lot of different ways you can go, but that makes life a little bit easier. One other product that has made a big difference in doing maintenance, both in the baskets of canister filters and in the sump, is something very, very simple, and you probably are using it already, but it's mesh bags, media bags, right? Like these here from our friends over at the co-op. And these mesh bags allow you to keep things nice and neat, and drop them in, pull them out. It just makes it real easy to work on media. Every now and then, pull out your biomedia, give the bag a little rinse. You don't want the bag to get so much mulm on the outside that water doesn't get to the media, right? Pull it out every now and then, have a bucket of tank water, and give it a couple dips like you would a tea bag. Give it a couple dips and drop it back in the filter. That's all you really need to do. As opposed to handling a bunch of loose media that's spilling out over the floor, and it's just a mess. Put it all in mesh bags. If you're using that kind of media, right? We're talking like your BioHome Ultimate, your Marine Pure, things of that nature, right? Your ceramic rings, like the Sarah Saporax. I mean, these things, they fit into these mesh bags, and they just become very, very easy to work with. So another product that I can't recommend enough, that has made life a little bit easier for me. Now, what I want to know from you in the comments is, what kind of products have you started using with your tanks? What kind of products are you using that have been a bit of a game changer for you? And let me pull up the chat here. Bear with me. There's the chat. What kind of products have you actually started using that have made a big difference for you? Hey, Whip's World. Glad you can make it, buddy. I know you missed a couple of them there. I sent you an email. Motab in the house. Ex-Collie in the house. Hey, Ex-Collie. So let me know, what kind of products are you using currently that oh yeah, have been a game changer for you. Let me know. Whip, are you guys talking about power backups? I just had to get my my panel, my electrical panel, had to get it redone. The person who owned this house before was a DIYer, and no pun intended, and the panel was a bit of a mess, making it a little bit dangerous when I would plug into a 50 amp. When I plug the generator into a 50 amp. So at any rate, I got the panel redone. Wasn't cheap, and this is where I thank all of you who watch the videos, and my Patreons in particular. It was a big, big chunk of change, but the panel is perfect now. It has surge protection, and I've got all the necessary component parts to safely use that generator when it's plugged into the 50 amp plug. You don't want anything going wrong when you're messing around with a 50 amp connection. Receptacle, I guess. All right. So, any product recommendations, give them to me in the chat. Are the air pump, is this air pump, I can't hear it when it's running, price tag? When that air pump is running, I can't hear it. It's totally quiet. And then if you do like I did, I mean, I've got the big air pump from Higer, I've got it in a cabinet, right? And you can drill the bottom of the cabinet so you can get the electrical plug and you can get everything coming out from the cabinet. So you don't even know it's running. I get more noise. My fish room, the most of the noise in my fish room is from the outputs of the sump, because I have them kind of high. So so you hear a lot of water sloshing around. That's the main thing you hear in my fish room. And that's by design, because I want a lot of oxygen, but also if the power goes out or if I'm working on things, you do get what is called a back siphon. So the outputs into an aquarium, when you're using a sump, will start to back siphon the aquarium if the power goes out. So I have one-way valves, but one-way valves can still let a little bit leak through, especially if some foam is built up. So the one-way valves shut down, but a little water can still trickle through, and over time you're going to overflow your sump. So those outputs being a little high, what happens is the water line will go down a little bit, and then it breaks the siphon. It'll break the siphon, so no more water will siphon to the sump. So that's why those outputs are high. B. Wood just took delivery of a Westinghouse 11,000 watt tri-fuel. If I can give you a tip, if you're on a tri-fuel, go with natural gas. Don't mess around with propane. Don't mess around with gasoline. Don't follow up your carburetors. Get a natural gas line put in. You're probably already going to do that, and I'm just being an idiot for recommending it, but it's the best way to go. It'll run forever. It's an easy hookup. It's safe. Natural gas. If you have natural gas, some homes are all electric. They don't even have a gas line, but if you can, go that route. Run it for maybe a half hour, an hour, follow the instruction, break-in instructions very closely, change that oil. After you change the first batch of oil, go with synthetic. When you turn it on, have all your fuses off, and then gradually turn them on so you don't overload it. There's a lot of tips out there. Maybe you're already familiar with it, and I'm just wasting your time. But anyway, I've heard good things about Westinghouse. They're probably all built in the same factory in China, but at any rate, that's a good size unit. That should be able to run almost everything in your house, especially if you have a soft start on your air conditioner. You might be able to fire up your air conditioner with a soft start and be okay. Just make sure everything else is off. You don't need your dryer. You don't need your dishwasher. If you have an electric stove, don't run that when you're running on a generator. Can you tell I went down the rabbit hole of... All right. Kim and Coral, I have been using those root tabs. I have an aquarium right now, which is all plants. What used to be the discus tank is all plants right now. And that tank is it's got root tabs, and I use the liquid as well. Hey, while I was blabbing, I missed a super chat. Salient comes in with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Besides marrying well, how do you get to retire and still afford your passion hobbies? What was your secret? I do work a little bit. I have a part-time job which has ended, but now it looks like it's going to get restarted again. So that allows me to make a little money. I do some volunteer work. Tuesday night. I'm giving a talk as a volunteer. I do some volunteer work, but I strung together a lot of good years of work, and so that helped me with retirement. And I worked at the same company for 33 years. Before that, I worked at a company for 7 years. I'm kind of a stubborn. Once I get dug in, I don't hop around much. And been married over 40 years, right? So I'm a stubborn guy. We're going to make this work. So anyway, but there's no secret. There's no secret. We're just, make more than you spend. All right. All right, I'm looking at the chat now. And thank you for that super chat, my friend. Whips World talking about a saltwater. Now, it's interesting in the saltwater world. Now, I'm not a salty, so I can't really speak to this at all with any kind of authority or confidence. But I know that in saltwater, the salt, once you have the salt dialed in just right, the salt doesn't evaporate. So you can top off your saltwater tanks with fresh water. And so if you have an ATO with a top-off reservoir with just plain old tap in there, it'll work with your saltwater tank. I think the only time if they would do a large water change or something, they would go ahead and reset the salt parameters or whatever. But I know the salt, they talk about that in the ATO system about how you don't need to add more salt when you top off. I didn't know that either. Price tag, I didn't know that. I heard about it, like someone commented under that canister video that I just released about a week or so ago. Someone commented about it under that video, and I was like, "What?" And I'm in pretty good touch with Zenzo and Corey and the gang over there, right? And it was just never on my radar. And I tell you, I think Corey's just having a lot of fun with that 3D printer. I mean, he's just going to town with it and coming up with some cool products. So I'll tell you, turning off the FX6 and not having that sponge float around the aquarium is going to make life a little easier. So yeah, I'm probably gonna put that on after today's live stream. I'll add that. And yeah, it's for some reason and it was because I bought a tank years ago, and the guy threw in a Marineland hang-on back, and it was big. It was easy to modify. It was you can buy the cartridges and put whatever you want in them. There's a lot of room in the back. I don't know. Do the bio wheels do anything? I don't know. We know that bacteria, your aerobic bacteria, right? It needs oxygen. So spinning like that is definitely going to give that bacteria a lot of oxygen. But after a while, with all of my Marinelands, and keep in mind they've been running 24/7 for many years, the wheels stopped turning. The pipe, it just gets old, and the water pressure coming up to the pipe. I mean, sometimes it starts up again after you do a full maintenance, like if you break it down, you clean the impeller, that kind of thing. But so I really don't care. I don't care about those wheels that much. But I'll tell you one thing, they run forever. And that's the best endorsement I can give you on them. They run forever. They use a relatively small amount of watts. And so I've been happy with them, and I stumbled into them. I didn't necessarily go out to buy one. I got one that was thrown in. I became familiar with it, and so I kept getting a hold of more of them because I was familiar with them, right? And but I'm sure there's some out there, some hang-on backs that are superior. Perhaps, I don't know. All I know is that these things, they've never leaked on me, and they, every time you plug them in, they start up. So, and if they get unplugged, if we have a power outage and the power comes back on, they start running again. That, like compared to that Haiger bilateral, one of them started running again, the other one didn't, and the impeller fused inside the motor housing, and I'm just glad it didn't catch fire. So, for whatever reason, it couldn't get going again. Now you can avoid that altogether by having a hang-on back filter that has the pump inside the aquarium, but those Haiger bilaterals, one started, one didn't, and that one got really hot to the point where it melted. I can only imagine it melted it because I couldn't turn it. I couldn't pull out the impeller. I couldn't turn it. So, but those Marinelands, unplug them. They sit for 5 hours. You plug them in. They start right up again. So, anyway, is the BioWheel a gimmick? Quite possibly a gimmick. I don't know. You know, I'm with you on that, Whip. But believe it or not, despite everything I've said, I'm with you because if it's very cold and your heaters have to run, the hours runtime of that battery goes from 20 hours to hour and a half if your heater's running. The way I'm using them is I'm not home. I'm not here to plug in the generator. So it gives a first level of backup. And then hopefully the power comes back on in an hour or two. If it doesn't, I can come home and either recharge the batteries, which, by the way, they can keep running as they're being recharged. They can run. So if you plug your inverter into them, right, they will run as you're running. They'll recharge as you're running them. Or I'll have enough time to plug in the big generator. So, but yeah, you're right. Now, there are some big units out there. The Opus 6,000 watt, a lot of kilowatt hours. EcoFlow has a 7,200 watt, a lot of hours, right? So on units like that, I mean, they have batteries now that'll run your whole house that plug into the panel. So it depends how much you want to spend, but you're right. The smaller battery packs, if you have a heater that kicks on, is going to run down pretty quick. This is why I use it as a first level of defense. Looks like some of you got an email. Some of my moderators got an email. I think I'll start emailing again because I think my live streams, my Saturday live streams, are going to go like every other week. Like next week, there's not going to be one. So I'll try and do some emails, but I'll also post something to the community page at ben.o.ciclid on Facebook and the YouTube community page, letting folks know when there's going to be a live stream. So I'll try and do that more regularly. I tend to be, sometimes I just don't do that. But I'll try and be better. I'm trying to be better, guys and gals. All right. Yeah, Whip's World, with gasoline, you're gonna get the highest amount of output from your generator. It produces the most juice, and but you're gonna have to do carburetor maintenance. You're gonna have gasoline storage issues, or you have to add gas stabilizer if you're going to store gasoline. Propane is very safe to store. It can store forever. It doesn't foul up the car. As a matter of fact, the line to run the generator bypasses. It goes into, but it more or less bypasses the carburetor on the generator when you use propane, the propane line. So it really does nothing to the carburetor. Angela just ordered the sponge intake adapter. There you go. I knew I should have provided a link, an affiliate link. I'm just leaving so much money on the table. I can't believe it. All right. Medco 7415, he's putting an adapter on the 407. Yeah, I tell you, it's going to make it's a bit of a game changer. All right. Any more products that you folks want to bring up here in the chat? I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, Whip Swirl, much bigger. I'm talking about a whole house battery backups that can run for days. They're out there. It just depends what your budget is. You're getting into the 10,000 range. Which, well, gee, why don't I just get a large 24/7 monitoring? Because in some parts of for some people, they don't have natural gas. There are a lot of homes in subdivisions here in Nashville that are 100% electric. So they can't have a gas powered generator on standby. So for them, a large battery option is workable. And if you pair it with some high efficiency solar panels, you're set. You're totally set. So now keep in mind what some of these folks are doing, especially if you live in states that charge you more during certain times of the day. They'll take the peak periods and run on the battery packs, run their home on battery packs and solar panels. Then during the low cost, right, the low kilowatt hours, they go back onto the grid. And you can set up those large power pack units. You can set that up so that it's automatic. It's on a timer. So the house switches over to battery pack during peak hours, goes back to a grid on low peak hours. So your big battery pack system pays for itself in about 18 months. Paul, it's okay if you're late, but I do need to see a note from a parent or guardian. Ex-Kali Kev, there you go. And that's an issue, and you're not there's if you're in an area that doesn't provide natural gas, you're not going to pay, $100,000 to get a line run out to your house. I mean, the area either has it or it doesn't. The fact that I have natural gas here saved our bacon because I was able to get hot water out of the hot water heater. If I hadn't had that, probably all these fish would be dead. They'd all be dead. That was the only way I could bring the temperature up. Yeah, the Generacs, they have the Generacs. I've heard good things about Kohler. Kohler makes those generators, that 24/7 monitoring generators, and I've heard good things about those. And I've seen quotes from all the way from 10,000 to 20,000 for my house, anywhere from 10 to 20,000. So it's the king, but I tell you, I've run into two people whose unit didn't work during the last freeze. It didn't work. Didn't start up. It was too cold. Something was wrong. Something it didn't kick on. Can you imagine paying 20,000 for a unit and then when it finally comes the time you need it, it doesn't fire up? Motab, I could use a wind turbine. Might work today. It's pretty windy here in Nashville. And that's probably why we had a momentary outage. There's still a lot of branches that are broken from what occurred here, but they're sitting at the top of trees. They're broken branches, like large broken branches that have settled, on other branches. And when the wind blows, those things are going to come down. And I'm talking, 10 foot long, this much around. We're talking hundreds of pounds. One of them fell on my wife's car a couple days ago. Missed the windshield by this much. Landed just above the windshield. We got a small little dent, but it was sitting up there, and the wind kicked up, and it came down. So I'm sure we'll probably have a few more power outages. Brian Park in the house. It's okay to be late, my friend. Whip, you're talking about the outage or the generators that didn't work. Can you imagine how many people were calling these companies during that freeze? I mean, good luck getting through. I was able to get through to Duramax. I was able to call Duramax about an issue I was having, just out of the box and just for some tips. And I was able to get a hold of a live person at Duramax, and that was good. But I'm sure they were getting a lot of traffic from this area. All right. All that being said, it has been an hour. I hope you folks enjoyed today's live stream. And be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you to my wonderful moderators. Thank you to my Patreons. You folks rock. And I think with all that being said, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I want you folks to have a great weekend. Hope you have great weather wherever you're at. There'll be no live stream next week, but then we'll be back at it the week after that. I'll post some things on YouTube and Facebook, letting everyone know that there'll be no live stream. Maybe we'll do a Wednesday night. Maybe we'll do a Cichlids and Suds for those of you who like the Wednesday night. All right. So there you go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for showing up, and I will see you folks in 2 weeks. And watch for today's video at 1 o'clock. Everything you need to know about keeping large cichlids at 1 o'clock today. Watch for that video. It'll be dropping. So there you have it. Thank you. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for stopping by. And you rock, my friends.